intersecting paths that crisscross our lives sometimes lead us to the most unlikely places. For English-born industrial designer Michael Young, the path led him to Hong Kong and the manufacturing playground of China. But it's here in Innsbruck, Austria that our paths meet. I'm Amy Devers, and this is Designer People, where we profile one leading designer and travel the world through their creative connections. Design maverick and international gypsy. To meet Michael Young is to meet a man that is unashamedly original.
You know, in design, I do what is true to myself and what I believe in. I don't give a damn what anyone else thinks or does about what I do. I think as long as I sort of withhold my own integrity, then I'm happy with it. You know, I know what I want to do in life.
You're stationed in Hong Kong. You've got a studio in Brussels. How is it that we're running into you here in Innsbruck?
I'm having an exhibition sent over from China. It's really the start of a very large tour of things that I've been making in China over the last 3 years. Furniture, tables, chairs, sculptures, lighting, all sorts of different things.
The sensibilities that he brings to his designs are very subtle and very practical. And the overall aesthetics I love because it's timeless.
There was an artistic, abstract element, entity in Michael's work, which is always, always makes one curious, even as another designer.
You know, there's industrial design, there's industrial decoration. You could say I use industry as a decoration, but it's very powerful and it's commercial, it's mass-produced, and it helps families stay alive. I'm not interested in putting an object in a magazine and go, wow, that was nice.
He's certainly one of the, I think, the most underrated designers that has come out of the UK in recent times. He really is.
You travel quite a bit. Is that influence your work, or is that just a lifestyle choice?
I've always been on the go. I think it probably comes from being younger, leaving college, never having anywhere to live, living on floors, living on sofas. Now, thankfully, I've got it up to 5-star hotels and castles. I am, I guess, vaguely nomadic. I mean, I live in 3 or 4 different countries. Hong Kong is the base. I've actually always wanted to get my life to a point where I can be wherever I want to at any point in time. So I've got the studio working very beautifully in Hong Kong. I've got another studio in Brussels, just very small with a couple of people.
Well, it's all part of Michael's nomadicism, isn't it? I mean, he moved to Iceland. They had a place in Belgium for a while. I mean, these are seemingly odd, off-the-map kind of places, but what's off the map these days? There is no real center.
2003, I landed in Hong Kong, fell in love, and just thought, I don't see myself in 10 years' time in London. I see myself in 10 years' time in this mysterious place. I got fascinated by all of the things I could do there. You know, there's a sort of, I think there's too much sort of icing on the cake in Europe when it comes to design. There's too much, it's a sort of overindulged industry. When I go to Hong Kong, it's stripped back and denuded of all of the bullshit.
Again, I think that symbolizes his ability to break away and to get out of potentially a rut that a lot of industry professionals tend to follow. And again, Michael chose to be a little bit more avant-garde and went to find his own marketplace.
I think Michael's decision to move to Hong Kong opened up a whole lot of possibilities for him. Because you could argue in one degree that you should go to the industry and you help that industry to find a correspondence between East and West to make the commercial side of these things relevant. So it's interesting for Michael, maybe he's a bridge between East and West. And there's nobody like him in his territory.
For him to be in an intimate relationship with producers of a variety of materials and functionalities is really good for him. As a reflection of what happens in London, from our perspective, we can buy into that and import things from Michael or Japan or America or Europe and bring it into our sort of marketplace.
A recent Hong Kong project is Pizarro, a restaurant in which Michael undertook every element of the design process.
Everything in that restaurant is about my experience within China over the last 3 years, within industry. So, you know, the front door is made by a bicycle factory in Taichung, Taiwan. The furniture is made by Computer in Indonesia. The floor is woven using a really new high-tech rattan. The lights I made myself in Mount Fuji and blew them all myself in a little workshop. The main part of the project was actually folding little bits of paper. There's 750,000 bits of hand-folded paper in the restaurant, folded out of, you know, according to the golden section. The lesser is to the greater is the greatest of the whole. The only thing I can remember from school for some reason. When I went there, I think people saw Hong Kong as an escape. I speak to designers in London and they're incredibly jealous of the investment that I've made because they now realize that design is not about marketing, it's about industrialization.
And what better place in the world to explore industrialization than in China, the world's fastest growing economy?
His moving around the planet, his pinpointing over the years, has given him quite a strong global perspective. And I think it's one of his strong points. I don't think he's somebody who could really achieve what he achieves sitting in London or Milan. He likes to be a little bit out of it, what they say, en marge, out on the edge.
The old model of design from Europe is something that is not particularly of interest to me. I love the passion in Europe, but the industry is something which is left behind. Hong Kong really affords me the luxury of having really enthusiastic manufacturers around me at all times. People who will actually invest in research and development of my ideas. They will actually try things for me without even sending me an invoice to actually just see if something is possible. I guess you could say it's a designer's playground. It's just not very glamorous. There are a lot of studios in the world that do commercial design, and I do commercial design, but I like to do more investigative work. So I'd say I like to question the typologies of a product and try and bring more about the present moment in time, about what is going on culturally on the street, what is going on with technology. So everything I do, I guess, comes together and really creates the product. So there's nothing done without a massive amount of research into the process and the factory that's making it.
The collaboration with EOPS has resulted in revolutionary speaker designs.
You know, for me, what is the most successful project is the one that has the greatest impact on the world and its distribution. And I saw a massive opportunity in China to actually design something beautiful. So we've worked for the last 1.5 years developing the sound system, the typology, the iconism for the product. Works with any device from iPhone to PC. You can put speakers in the shower, you can put your iPhone in there, it'll cut the music out, and you can talk to the speaker system in the shower. It's as advanced as any sound system can be at this present moment in time. Each speaker is rechargeable. You can even wave at the speaker to move, change the bass, to move the volume up. So it's about complete human interactivity.
I think Michael's work is, it's so innovative, but it's at the same time, it comes from a place, it comes from a very creative freedom that he has, and it makes it seem very effortless, to be honest, the actual process. And he's very humble about the final products that he comes out with and the scale of the projects he works on.
He's quite a complicated individual, but yet when speaking to him, he brings things down to quite simple terms, but there's actually a great deal more going on there. And you see that in his work. And if I take, for example, the work he's done for us, if you look at the writing desk he did, he wanted to take a piece of furniture that was, you know, the classic bureau and turn it into contemporary form. It was also a comment against sort of open plan seating and open plan offices and so forth. There's a depth of consideration to his work, which I find interesting.
What has happened since design has got a little bit more relevant in the world is that you can only compete in the market by improving your brand or reducing your price, which means that the market's sort of splitting into this sort of people trying to invest in their image or get better prices.
And Michael has earned a reputation for forthright, dare I say blunt, comment.
There's two types of design in the world these days. There's design with good branding and good quality and integrity, and there's cheap design. Cheap design is the stuff that goes to stores like Walmart and Radio Shack. The only thing these companies do is try to push the prices down to get more profit. These companies don't sell products in China. They exist in the United States and in Europe and Latin America. So all of that exploitation in Chinese factories comes and is fueled not by China but overseas markets. And that's why China's becoming so important. I'm watching this very clearly. I have a very helicopter view on the matter than I had 5 years ago when I was in Europe.
Nowadays, a number of designers are working with Chinese manufacturers and do their own design, you know, not only manufactured in China, but also designed in China or any country where there's a low labor cost compared to the Western world. But that's fair, because at least you compete on a fair battleground. So the genuine products, that's fine. We have something that we have to live with and something that we have to cope with.
You know, design is something which engineers do in Asia, very much so. So there's still a lot of cultural development to do. I think, you know, in 20 years' time, China will be like Tokyo. Until then, there's a lot of groundwork to be done, and you can't just rely on your design skills to get you through the whole thing.
Michael has also worked closely with Giant, the world's largest bicycle manufacturer.
So I designed several bicycles for them, helped them develop their design market and move their market over from the sports industry to what people horribly call the lifestyle industry. You know, I also had to teach the marketing department in Giant. I had to give lectures once a month to teach them what design is, what does it mean, tell them why a product is actually given a name relating to design. So it was a very intense process.
Willful child? One would think so.
I was definitely inquisitive and always putting stuff together, and, you know, if I could turn something upside down and tear it apart, I would do it. If I could turn my furniture upside down in my bedroom, I'd turn it upside down without any reason. If I could live under the bed rather than on top of it, I'd do that. So that was probably the first time I ever realized that something wasn't right in my general take on objects and the world we live in.
Feisty.
I think I saw in the Face magazine once, there was an article with Tom Dixon, and he was stealing marble from banks, the steps, and making furniture out of it, and I thought that looks like a pretty good way to make a living. More in the sense of that sort of maverick approach to life and doing whatever you want to do, and I thought this was this sort of job you could get and do whatever you want. So I just made it work the way I wanted it. I actually waited till I was 21 to get into school, because rather than make the effort to do any schoolwork, I kind of thought I'll just wait till I'm a mature student and get in the easy way, which is a much better plan. Graduated in '92 and just started making my own stuff. It was hand to mouth. It wasn't about, you know, the limited edition market now is really massive. When I started 15 years ago, you were just making things. You made one because it's all you could afford to make, and then you tried to sell it, and then you got some food and you tried to make another one. So it's very different to the market now, where there's sort of all of these guys dressed up in rabbit costumes making limited editions. It's a bizarre scenario. I can't quite understand it. I was lucky that I had a lot of success very early on. It doesn't mean I had a lot of money. I was living in a cellar shooting rats to keep the place clean. I was lucky that immediately the first things I designed sold in Conrad's shop, I guess. The Louvre, the Pompidou Centre bought them. So they immediately went into collections, and I think after a couple of years I got a lot of finance from Japan to do things. And it sort of exploded pretty early on, really.
Post-war Japan has developed a reputation for industrial design elegance, so if you can attract their attention, you're on the right track. Here in Tokyo, back in 1993, Yoichi Nakamoto was scouring UK talent for an exhibition in Hong Kong. It was he who first brought Michael Young to Asia.
Immediately captured by Japanese audiences and representing like a new design from London or from UK.
That collection went AWOL around the planet, got in every museum, got in every magazine. I didn't really know what was going on at the time. I was too young to appreciate that it was actually having an impact in the design world. A lot of people were really cynical about it because it was a little bit poppy and I was a little bit, fuck you all. You know, I was questioning the typologies of traditional furniture at the time, how you sit, how you use an object, you know, so sofas, floor cushions, all using relatively new materials.
In the industrial heartland of northern Italy is furniture design company Magis, who invited Michael to design a range of indoor as well as outdoor furniture for them in the late 1990s.
We did a number of products together. We like him because of his approach to design, which is very easy, and is also someone who you can really talk to. He has very clear ideas, but it's also someone that you can make a constructive criticism and redefine things on a step-by-step basis.
You know, I do a lot of work for Chinese companies that are passionate enough to understand that art and creativity is the important ingredients in industry. I'm working on a very new, beautiful glass range for Tito, one of China's largest glass companies, which we're going to start to sort of help bring them to the forefront of glass design in Europe. But equally, I've been fortunate enough that they're going to market my design to a new type of user in China. You know, the Asian creativity or culture is based on traditional values such as dragons and sort of year of the rat, that kind of thing. But a younger generation of Asian consumers coming through who understands a new level of David Beckham ping pong, that type of thing. So there's a really exciting thing going on. So that means these Asian companies want to work with me and launch my Michael Young products in Asia, in Beijing, Shanghai, whatever. So there's a lot of things like that. This year's been spectacular because there's been a recession. A lot of the factories who are generally making buttons for electronics or carbon fiber parts, you know, A380 cancelled big orders. There's a lot more carbon fiber in the world. A lot of equipment is standing. So I've had a lot of factories actually approach me and say, look, do you want to try and play around? We'll do free tooling. You can try new things. So actually a lot of the things I'm showing in Austria are the result of a recession. 1 year's worth of empty machines or free machine time to R&D. And these guys have thought to themselves, you know, we're not going to rely on doing other things. We're going to set new companies up. So they said, do whatever you want. That's the beauty of a recession. Large companies need to focus. And now I get, you know, instead of just getting a product manager, a marketing team approaching me, I'll get a CEO calling me saying, I want to come and see you. We've got to refocus. Can you help us? And it's been a good year for that.
Michael set up DD3, his own distribution company, to sell some of his experimental work and help companies he designs for sell their products.
A lot of companies now rely on all of my contacts around the world to help them distribute their products. They don't have the facilities to do it themselves, so I can design their products. You know, they can do the mass market, but I can help them do special editions to put into some of the best design shops around the world, like Moss or Colette. My job as a designer has actually gone beyond marketing. I'm helping them distribute, I'm helping them design, I'm helping them communicate. And I think it's about time that design actually came full circle, because 10 years ago, it was just on the edge of fashion or just on the edge of music. Now it's become an industry that's respected on its own. One of the stranger things that happened is over the last 5 years, after working with Lacoste, the media exposure, the last project we did together, was so gigantic. That project was in every single magazine in the world, in every single city. So it was actually apparent on that level it's better to invest in a designer than advertising space. New project I'm doing, which is quite exciting, which is slightly out of context from my normal occupation, is that I became the Chivas Regal whiskey ambassador for Asia. So it's all very lost in translation. So I'm designing their new, all their new barware, their new interior environments, and I'm going to have a party in Hong Kong, Shanghai, Beijing, Mumbai. I'm going to promote the whiskey. So I'll do all of their PR, and I know I don't look good as a model, but hey, it is a whiskey. I shouldn't say this, I don't drink whiskey, I'm trying to learn. That's going to be really exciting because it shows that design in Asia is reaching definitely a new level, and brands are as impactful as that are actually using people like me to sit on the side of a bus and go, cheers. So that's quite exciting.
He's consummate in the sense of how he designs, his relationship with the press, his charisma, his absolute fearless approach to travel, which we all have to have.
The design world has followed, as we know, very closely to the art world, and a lot of the artists and designers now that are seen or deemed to be successful, whether it be in terms of column inches or financial rewards, are usually down to those that know how to. I'm not saying they're not good designers as well, but they usually have the ability to work the media.
And the thing is that Michael is somebody who deserves everything he's got.
So for a man who seems to have global manufacturers and brands at his fingertips, what's next? What's the elusive dream project?
My dream project is actually to design the next 2010 version of the E-Type Jaguars. That is my dream project. Whether or not it'll happen, I'm actually doing it myself in the studio anyway, and hopefully one day someone will go, oh, this is nice, hopefully Jaguar. To improve design, it's not about getting a fee and designing a glass. It's about getting industrialists to approve of your existence. So now I've got these factories saying, we have the best carbon fiber factory in China, what can you do? I see myself as just someone who's dedicated towards industrial processes. I'm fascinated by it. I'm simply trying to find useful things to do. You know, economy, design is about economy at the end of the day. It's about keeping people in factories alive, keeping people who drive delivery trucks, who put tape on boxes. It's, you know, the product is actually a small percentage of the whole cycle of design.
Maverick, outspoken, and controversial. All, I suspect, compliments to the ears of Michael Young. But underpinning all this playful anti-establishment shtick is a highly creative and motivated designer at the absolute top of his game and in the right place at the right time, wherever that may be for Michael. I'm Amy Devers, and you've been watching Designer People.